Hey friends, V here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to show the step-by-step process to make a 20-inch poinsettia flower. So be sure to stick around if you want to learn how to do that. First things first, we're going to get into materials and tools. I'm using my full-size Gorilla Hot Glue Gun and the full-size Gorilla Hot Glue Sticks, along with my 8-inch Fiskars scissors. I'm using the pink 1/2-inch dowel as well as the yellow 3/8 wood dowel. These tools are used to shape our petals. I'm also using my flexible ruler and, of course, my Forever Petals by V Poinsettia 2020 template. That just means I designed it and released it in 2020. So for today's flower, we're going to be using petals 5, 6, 7, and 8. This will get us a 20-inch flower, as I mentioned. And on the screen, I will keep up the amount of petals, and then, of course, how we're going to style them. So I'm doing 2 layers of petal 8, so you will need 12 of those. Petal 6, or 5, 6, and 7 are going to need 6 of each. Now, I do have a Cricut cut center, but I'm also going to show you how to hand cut your center if you're not using a Cricut machine. So we're going to quickly dive into styling our petals. So this is going to be starting from the largest petals to the smallest petals. So we're starting from the bottom of the flower, and we're going to work our way to the center. So for petal 8, it's our first set of 6 petals. We are going to fan fold this, all 6 of those petals. So what I'm doing is I'm creasing the petal in half, and I'm taking the open side and having it to the right, and taking the point of the petal and moving it to the right. So the crease of the petal should go horizontal, and then it should go vertical. Horizontal, and then vertical. Horizontal, and then vertical. Once you've gotten to the tip of the petal, you're going to go ahead and just stretch it out. So that way the accordion opens, and then you can open up your petal and you have these veining lines. It just gives a nice detail to your flower. You are going to repeat this step for every petal of this layer. So again, we're on petal 8. I crease the petal. I make sure the opening is on my right side. I'm going to take the crease and fold it down so that way it's horizontal. Then I'm going to take the crease. Essentially, I'm taking the point of the petal, the top of the petal, and moving it to the right, moving it to the top, moving it to the right, top, right, top. Now, this is giving us a diagonal fan fold, okay? So you're fan folding, but you're doing it at an angle, so that's why it's not going to line up perfectly, because of the angle that we're doing it at. We want the veins of the petals to be going like a V shape. So you're going to repeat this process for every petal of the first layer, which is petal 8. So I'm just going to speed up the video so that way you all can just see exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying not to skip over any parts, but rather I sped them up once I show you the process. So once you've gotten to your 6th petal of the first set of petal 8, you're going to pick up the second set of petal 8. Okay, so this is the same petal size, it's just a different layer. And for this second layer, you're going to take your 1/2-inch pink wood dowel, and you're going to curl the edges. So you're still going to crease the petal down the center. Now, keep in mind, these petals are not symmetrical, okay? They're not identical on each side. So, and that's okay, because not every petal is perfect. And then you're just going to curl the left and the right side away, so that way it creates some dimension for your petal. Now, for this flower, we're not doing any cuts up the center of the base of the petal, because of the way that I designed it back, many years ago. So, excuse me, once you complete petal 8, as you can see, I'm quickly moved on to petal 7. Petal 7 layer is a fan fold. Then petal 6 layer is a creased. I just call it a creased design because all you're doing is creasing the center and curling the edges. And then petal 5, which is the very smallest layer that we're using, I'm going back to a fan fold. Okay, so if you want to pause the video now so you can get all of your petals styled, go ahead and do that. Once you have all of your petals styled, you're going to take a 5.5-inch hexagon base, And you're going to go to each straight edge, place your flexible ruler midway, and you're going to mark 1 inch away from every straight edge. This is going to be our guideline on where our first layer of petals will be placed. So you should end up with 6 1-inch marks since we are using a 6-sided polygon known as a hexagon. So once you've added all 1-inch dots, you're going to take the first layer of petal 8, which is the fan folded layer. You're going to add glue to that little rectangular base on the back side, and you're going to place the straight edge right up to the 1-inch dot, but do not cover it up, okay? You want the 1-inch dot to continue to show. Now, as you can see, with the way that the petal is styled, the edges kind of flip up, and you're going to see where I kind of take my finger to the crease and to kind of flatten it out. And I wouldn't say flatten it out, to kind of just open it up a little bit more. I end up undoing that at the very end, so you don't have to do that. And so one by one, for the first set of petal 8, you're going to take each petal to its own 1-inch dot, which has its own straight edge of the hexagon. And you've completed your very first layer of your 20-inch poinsettia. Once you've done your first layer, you're going to go to your second layer, petal 8 still. It's just the creased design or creased style. And what I'm doing is I'm creasing that bottom rectangular tab for every petal of this layer, so all 6 petals. And before we start adding them, I'm going to take my flexible ruler and connect all of the 1-inch dots that we originally created with straight lines. That will in turn create a new hexagon shape for you as a guide. So the bottom edge of this layer is going to line up with the straight edge of that hexagon in the center of your base. And you're going to continue adding each petal one by one to each straight edge of that hexagon shape that we have in the middle of the flower. Again, you only want to add glue to that bottom rectangular piece that you creased off from the petal shape. And that'll be just enough so that way your petals are stable and secure onto that hexagon base you have. Guys, I don't know what's going on with my throat. I literally just woke up and all of a sudden my voice wants to be all itchy, but we're going to continue. Again, thank you guys for joining, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below here on Forever Petals by V's YouTube channel. This is where I'm going to be posting all new step-by-step tutorials. Now, for this next layer, before I start adding petal 7 layer, I'm just creating a line or basically outlining the bottom edge of that petal 8 we just added because it already created a hexagon shape, okay? Now, once I do that, just so I can see the hexagon, I'm going to every corner of that hexagon and creating a 1/2 inch dot. Not a full inch, only 1/2 inch distance. So that way I can move the petals a little bit further into the base for petal 7, the petal that we're adding that's creased. So once you add your 1/2 inch dots, you're going to go ahead and take the bottom straight edge of petal 7 up to the dot, making sure that petal 7 lines up with the very bottom petal 8 that's creased as well. So in this flower, all creased flowers will line up with each other, and all fan fold flowers will line up with each other. Okay, that just gives you another layer of where your placement should be. And you're just going to continue until all of petal 7 have been added to each of those 1/2 inch dots. So now we're going in with petal 6, which is the creased petal. I'm again creasing that bottom rectangular tab. I'm going in and outlining the bottom edge of the layer we just did, so that way it creates, and I can see the actual hexagon shape. And again, for this layer, I'm going to go to every corner of the hexagon, and I'm marking 1/2 inch away from every corner. Again, bringing this layer more into the base. We want to make sure we fill up the center space so that way we don't have like a huge center in order to be able to fill it in at the end. So I'm going to go one by one, adding glue to the base tab of each petal and placing up to those 1/2 inch marks, making sure petal 6, the petal I'm working on, goes in between the fan folded petal 7s from the previous layer. And you're going to repeat until all petals have been added. Now the right side of the last petal, I want to make sure you put it behind the very first petal you did, just so that way the overlap stays consistent. Now for the final layer of petal 5, because we're already towards the center, I'm taking my 1/2 inch dowel and creating a circle. I traced the diameter of the wood dowel, to create a circle. So what I'm going to do is take petal 5, that bottom straight edge is going right up to the outer edge of the circle. I want to leave the circle visible. I do not want to cover it. So that is my guideline, the outer edge of the circle, making sure that petal 5, the fan folded petal we're working on, lines up with petal 7 and the very first layer of petal 8. Again, all fan fold layers will line up with each other, and then the crease layers will line up with each other. And you're going to continue making sure the final petal, the right side of it, goes behind the very first petal. Now I had to peel this one up a little bit because I glued it all down. But then I just go in and I add a smidge of glue just to re-secure that in. And there you have it, guys. You have the petal completed portion of this flower with all the petals set. Now we're going to get right into the center. If you are not using a cutting or Cricut machine or silhouette machine to cut your centers, then you're going to take one 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock. I'm using this golden yellow from Astrobrights. I folded it in half twice on the long edge, and then I'm going in and creating fringe. Do not cut through, but you want to leave about 1/4 of an inch uncut at the bottom, all the way down. The thinner you cut your fringe, the more detail you get. You're going to open it up and cut right up the center, and you're going to end up with 2 pieces. I'm using my mat as my guide, and I'm going to take glue 1/2 inch away from the top edge, and I'm going to fold the bottom edge up, and I'm only going to press down where the bottom edge meets the glue. Do not recrease the fringe because you want it to be a little bit puffy to give more detail. I'm going to repeat the steps for the second layer. Add your glue, bring that bottom edge, but do not line up the edges, okay? They should be about 1/4 of an inch away from each other. And then with the uneven or unaligned edges, you want to make sure those are on the outside, that you see those as you're creating your pom-pom. I'm going to add some glue on the tail, and then I'm going to go ahead and continue by starting the second layer just to make it a little bit more wide and give a little bit more detail. Add your glue. Now I am not going to glue mine inside because I'm going to be using my Cricut cut center. So you do want to fully add glue to the base of that center, and then you can add it in. Now you can use a gold cardstock as well if you would like gold in the middle rather than the yellow. Now, if you're using a Cricut cut center, this specific center design is from my mini poinsettia. So if you bought my mini poinsettia template last year or anytime this year, this is the same center. I just increased the sizes of the cuts so that way they fit in this larger flower rather than a small poinsettia. I'm taking my metal ball pink and white stylus from the Dollar Tree and my flower shaping mat, my Florisy Exploris flower shaping mat. And all I'm doing is rolling the little balls at the end of each stem. So that way it creates like a little bowl. And that you do that for all of them. You're going to flip it over, and then you're going to roll the center just like you did, but just in the center. And that's going to create a lift in your centerpiece. You're going to repeat this process for all 6 layers, except The 6th layer is going to be slightly different, but I'll explain when we get there. So the sizing, and I'll put it on the screen, you're going to need 2 5.5-inch pieces, 2 5-inch pieces, and 2 4.75-inch pieces. So a total of 6 layers will create the center. As you can see here, I'm using a metal ball stylus. That's another tool that you can use to roll the centers, but you will need like the Dollar Tree, the Dollar Tree one, the pink and white one, for the ends, because they are much smaller little pieces. And as you can see, the 2 5.5-inch pieces, once I completed them, I glued them together. So now I'm on the 5-inch pieces, and I'm just going to roll the edges, the power of editing, and I'm going to roll the center after I flip it over. Excuse me. Now I'm bringing back the 2 5.5-inch pieces. I'm adding glue to the bottom base center of the 5-inch, and I'm adding it just inside. And I'm going to repeat this process for the second 5-inch piece. Okay, I'm just building my center. This is my first 4.75-inch piece. Once I do the roll, I'm kind of bunching them up together since we're kind of running out of space in the middle. And I'm just going to place it inside. And for your final piece, you're going to repeat the steps of rolling the little balls, but you're not going to flip it over. Okay. After you roll the little stems, you're going to roll the center. Do not flip it over. And that's because you want it to kind of fill in the middle, so that way it doesn't open up. And I'm just kind of brushing them or squeezing them together and then creasing the little stems at the bottom, but still have that base shape, so that way they stay lifted up. Just going to open this center a little bit and place it right inside. Please be careful, guys. You are working with hot glue. And there is your center. So again, 6 layers creates this center. Again, you can do it in a gold cardstock if you'd like, but I like this. What is this called? I'll put the name of the color. I cannot think. It's the color I use for marigolds. It's from Astrobrights Galaxy Gold. It came to my head. And you're just going to glue that in the middle. And you have a nice detailed center for your poinsettias. And you've completed your 20-inch poinsettia paper flower. You can make a ton of these to decorate your home with. If you're having a Christmas party, you can create a mini backdrop with these. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry for my coughing, but I hope you have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button right here on YouTube. And thank you guys for watching.